Hey guys, Dishsoap here, and today I have kind of a different format. I'm gonna be answering the question of why do I always high roll? I see comments on my videos because often only really uploading the first on this channel, and usually when I go first, you get lucky. So people will be like, man, is this guy even good? Like rank 1, he's just all luck. And then also there's like compilation on the TFT Clips YouTube channel. It's called like Dishsoap high rolling for like 3 minutes straight or something. And like, I think those clips were just pretty lucky, but here I am to like explain myself and saying that it's actually not all luck. Like the best players will always be inherently luckier, and I'll explain why. But yeah, first of all, we have to explain what even is a high roll. And I guess a high roll, I mean, I'll have a slide for it, but high roll is basically just means getting lucky, just getting above average variance. But you have to be able to know how to high roll. And one of the ways is just knowing the different conditions for many different comps, and like knowing when a comp is good. For example, like if you only know how to play Kai'Sa Ashe, if you get it like a really strong AP opener, you won't even know that it's a good opener if your like perception's like clouded and stuff, and you like only know how to play a certain line. Because you can get dropped like a high roll spot for a comp you don't know, and then it's not even high roll because you don't know how to play it. And then I just listed some common missed comps, like missed high rolls. A lot of these are just hero augments. Midnight Siphon, Lucky Paws with defensive opener, Ethereal Blades with bow, that's the Shen one, and then a Loon from Orb with AP items. There's plenty more of these miscomp rolls, but that's not really the purpose of this. This video is not supposed to be limited to just one set. But here's some examples of my subscribers missing or like not knowing the conditions to play the best comp. First example we have is, I believe this is a Diamond player who ended up playing a Gnar game, and I believe went 8th, but you'll notice it's like either Scuttle Puddle or Crabbery of the Hell of a bunch of gold. And you'll notice here, it's not very obvious to me that it should be a Gnar game. They have, on their bench, they have the Storyweaver setup, Zyra, Garen, Sivir. They also have like somewhat of an Ink Shadow setup, and they also have a Kog'Maw Mythic Caitlyn setup. Personally, I would hold the Kog'Maw Caitlyn Nico setup and the Storyweaver setup. Like, I don't even value this Gnar hold, honestly, because you can use the Kog'Maw Caitlyn setup to play Ashe, you can use it to play AP. Same thing with the Storyweaver setup. But I think this player was just kind of locked into playing Gnar and only wanted to play Gnar this game, and we'll see what happens. Sell for money, pretty much holds nothing here. And yeah, if you're trying to play Gnar, these items are just bad for Gnar. But maybe you could take Magic Wand for AP, you could take Learning Dispel for AP. Caretaker is just the best augment here. Caretaker's on Scuttle Puddle is fantastic, because you just get a bunch of extra money. So you actually have money to push level 8 fast and get a bunch of good items for your 4-cost comp. Say he holds the Kog'Maw opener, or he holds the Storyweaver opener, and he makes 10. He's flexing between 2 strong openers, keeping his econ high, with the ability to get strong slams from caretakers throughout the game. He's in a really good setup for playing around any AP line or maybe even Ashe. But if you try to play Gnar here with caretakers, you're going to be losing a lot of augment value because you can't go level 8 very fast. And you're going to be getting pretty much no value on stage 2 because you have a Gnar 1 with no slams. But yeah, they take caretaker's favor and missed Kog'Maw 2. Took it late, pretty much have nothing to play. No slams besides Morello. Like you would make Morello if you're playing Gnar here. Pretty much what happens is this player just has no tempo and bleeds out because they're just hard forcing Gnar, and then they go 8th. Not even leveling on stage 3 because they like mix streak, and for some reason they're not leveling here. Like, yeah, I don't know. There's some other mistakes. But the main was just choosing to play the comp. Infinite items on bench here, and they just bleed out. I think they have to take like Heroic Grab Bag at R3, and then it's not even enough because they're playing on Scuttle Puddle tempo with down a lot of combat power. And the next example is this player had a very strong Loon setup, but just tried to force AD flex and then fell super far behind. You notice here, they could drop the Loon, they could drop the Darius. Umbral is one of the strongest openers in the game, especially with the Loon from Orb. She just does like a lot of base damage, and then the flat shield in your team is really strong in the game as well. And then Darius too. So from the spot, I'm like, okay, we're playing around Darius too, we're playing around Umbral. This is either a melee setup or it's like a Loon into AP flex setup. Like you can flex into Silas, you could flex into like 6 Umbral, or like Sage Silas or 6 Umbral. Or you can just go fast eye and play around all the AP 5 costs, because the setup is so strong. If it was last patch, I would maybe try to force the AD like melee setup a little bit more because it was a lot stronger. The Kayn and Heavenly stuff got nerfed a little bit, so I wouldn't really lean at this patch that much at all. But they just take stationary. The reason why stationary is not good is because you're down at augment until stage 3, and the reason why that's not good is the setup. I'm not exaggerating. I think the setup has like a 90% chance of 5 streaking. If you slam your strongest items and you take Pandora or Component Buffet to get like a third Loon item or something, I don't think this opener loses very often in the early game at all. And then you have a strong 5-streak setup that you can push into even more advantage later. And then either play like the Alune reroll, play the Umbral, play the Sage Silas, play the Fast 9 AP setup. But here we just take Stationary, which I think is the first miss, and then the second miss is that we slam Last Whisper and Redemption, probably because we're too mentally committed to playing AD here. And then what happens is instead of 5 win streaking, we end up losing a bunch of fights, not making like good econ intervals, leveling and still losing with what we had was a strong opener. We even win this fight, which, I mean, this is just tragic, but we didn't have to be in the spot in the first place. Still haven't made 20 yet. And then, like, this spot's just doomed. But we didn't have to be in this spot. We could have been Giga streaking around Alune and AP. I probably would have taken Bandora's, trying to force the Morella. Pretty much what happens is we start the game with no HP, pivot into Ashe, but we just don't have enough HP to do anything, and we die. And the dummy ends up being Chalice, which doesn't really help anyways. Honestly, it's a good effort. Won a couple of rounds, but as soon as we fight someone strong, it's over. So that's just a spot recognition error. So yeah, knowing how to play different comps and knowing conditions for those comps to play well is a way you can artificially, I guess not even artificially, it's like a way you can get more high rolls, right? Because I think the first person, like the Gnar player, with Caretakers on Scuttlepuddle had a really good tempo AP setup, or even like tempo Ashe setup, and this player had a really, really strong like Alune tempo setup as well, and both of them just didn't know. Second part is knowing what's a high roll, and often it's hard to know what even is a high roll compared to what's a bait. And the strongest play isn't always the most obvious, and like you can easily get baited, including even the best players. And I have a few examples. So first we have Wei Shen Iverson. This guy's really, really good. He hits rank 1 pretty often, and he's gone to Worlds a couple times. So this is a very good player. Oh, by the way, just so you guys know, I'm using a tool on Meta TFT called VOD Library. I use this all the time. It's the best way you can look at streamer VODs. Just go to Meta TFT Tools VOD Library, and it has like, you can like split up by like the round. You can sort by what augments they have, what units they played and stuff. It's very, very useful. But yeah, the early game isn't that remarkable until he hits the double Gnar. And what happens this game is someone else calls Gnar and they take Mulch, which is a extremely strong augment for Gnar, and they also have the BT Slam. A thing you could do here is you could just contest and be like, oh, I have 3 Gnars, they have 1 Gnar, like they're trolling. Why wouldn't I just play Gnar here? And then the reason is Mulch will outscale you so hard if you ever like both have Gnar 3 for whatever reason. Personally, I would angle keeping Adaptive open and just playing Gnar for tempo. Like you can fully adapt it into like Syndra or something. There's a new variation of Syndra going around where you play 4 Dryad. I think this is definitely a spot you could consider that in. Would definitely roll Trade Sector before this though. But pretty much he takes escort quests and tries to play Gnar. Issue is he doesn't have a slam, he has to make a QSS on stage 2. That doesn't really help him that much. And to his credit, he gets value out of escort quests. He wins 4 out of 5 rounds. But the problem is he doesn't have any healing. He's slamming stuff like Sterex, QSS early, which is just a little awkward. And pretty much what happens is he doesn't have healing, so he gets like healing from encounter, which is actually really lucky. But he just ends up kind of just getting outscaled. And I don't think contesting Gnar here is like the worst player in the world. I think it's like definitely better than the other examples I showed. But I think he had a better line if you just tempoed into like Syndra or just tempoed the Star into like another melee carry or something. I don't know if contesting Gnar is the play. He actually does go 5th here this game, to his credit. But I think he goes 5th here because he got pretty lucky matchmaking at the end. I think he easily could have gone 7th, but we don't have to go through it. Pretty much what happens is he hits Gnar 3 and like loses most of the rounds on stage 4 and like wins like 1 or 2 rounds on stage 5, which helps him get 5th in a really tough lobby. But he does get outplaced by Rearplay, who was the person who took Mulched. So I think contesting other people when their spot is better than yours is a little sus. Next, we have an example from Kyun. This mistake is literally just like 1 augment selection. And I think he even recognized the mistake at the time. To set the stage, he has Caretakers. He's got an extra component, an extra full item. And when he levels to 8 next turn, he's going to have an extra full Radiant item. And I believe the encounter gave him an Ornn item. So we roll Pandoras, we roll Hedge Fund because his augments are just not very good. We're deciding between Radiant Relics and New Recruit here. Notice we have the Silas pair on bench. Okay, so he has a TG, he has a Spark Morello Crown Guard, and he has Adaptive Wits End Nashers. So, and he has 2 slams on bench and a Radiant item coming up. Pretty much, he can TG a 5 cost, he has full tank setup, he has full backline setup, and full Silas items already. He doesn't that's what he already has without anything else. He takes Radiant Relics here because I think he wants to go for a double Radiant Silas setup, but you'll see what happens is he just doesn't hit Silas 2. But I think he should have like always taken New Recruit here because 1, it guarantees Silas 2. 2, he's angling the Sage Silas comp, and that comp can always fit an extra unit. You can always like squeeze in for a Bruiser, you can squeeze in an extra Altruist, you can squeeze in a Sage, you can play like a good 5 cost like a Lissandra, like a Hui. There's just so much you can fit in that comp. And the extra Golden Nico means he will never miss on his roll down because he's already guaranteed the Silas 2. You can just Golden Nico it, have 3 items, give it like Adaptive Crown Guard plus the Radiant or something. And he is instantly stable on stage 4. I don't think anyone's going to beat him for the next 2 rounds if he has that board. And he takes Radiant Relics and he realizes that like he can't even go for double Silas item because he already has full Silas item. So he just goes Absolution. I think he gets a little dizzy here, takes GG, and he has no time for his roll down and ends up making a sus board and then just bleeds out. Like eventually he gets it together, finds the Silas 2. At that point it's like kind of too late, loses 1 fight, now he's just on 1 life. Wins 1 pretty convincingly, but the problem is like he just has too many items. One of his Radiants is a JG on a Zyra too. Just has items everywhere where he doesn't really need it. He would benefit a lot from just an extra unit. He could just play a Morgana on this board, get like 3 Sage, get Ghostly in, have a better Morello holder. Honestly, I wasn't watching that roll down that hard. He could have hit like a 5 cost maybe as well. And here he just loses to a much stronger board and goes 7th. But yeah, that's just like one bad augment selection. Just not recognizing. Like I think New Recruit there is actually the best augment he can hit because it guarantees your spike and gives you a strong late game. And then since I didn't want to feel like I'm just like making fun of everyone without showing my own mistakes, here's one of my games. It's Golden Prelude, nothing special, holding some bruisers, who cares? Also, like, Patient Study was probably the better choice, but it was first day of the patch. I wanted to test out some Wandering Trainer. It's not really that important for this example, though. Okay, so here, obviously, this is really strong. Bruiser Storyweaver has internal synergy because there's 2 Bruiser Storyweavers in the game. And they're also just 2 really, really strong tempo augments. So my spot's incredible here, but I made a crucial mistake. And the crucial mistake has to do with itemization. I slam a Less Whisper here, which is just wrong. I should always slam Shiv. And the reason is, I looked back at this game later, and the reason I slammed Less Whisper was because I thought I was going to play Kaisa. I thought I was just going to tempo into Kaisa or something. But honestly, it's not even that good. On level 8 with this dummy, what I can do is I can play Udyr over Riven, but that's only good if I hit the Udyr, right? Like Udyr over Riven and the 4 trick shot, 4 bruiser setup. But what I should have been playing here for is 3 main different comps. I could have been playing for like 6 bruiser tempo, 6 to 8 bruiser tempo into fast 9 Aurelia, which just need Less Whisper because Aurelia already shreds. 2, I can just play Sage Silas and use this dummy to drop Aatrox and Zyra for 5 costs. Or 3, I can play 7 Storyweaver. And for both Sage Silas and 7 Storyweaver, Shiv helps that comp so much more than Less Whisper for hopefully obvious reasons, because Sage Silas is full AP, Storyweaver Carol does full AP. But yeah, I mean, I do end up like getting a really, really strong opener. Play like 6 Bruiser in the mid game, win streaking, like 100 streak on stage 2, win most of my stage 3 fights. And like the spot would be incredible, but I just have a really weird itemization and can't really utilize like Sage Silas, 7 Storyweaver. End up having a Less Whisper on Aurelia late game, which does almost nothing, and I bleed out to a 5th. So yeah, that's just like not recognizing what comps I could play there and making the wrong items for it. And then the next section about like how to high roll more is that you can actually load the dice for yourself. So this game like is inherently a variance game, but you could make the variance better. I know, like, we like to joke, TFT streamers and stuff like to joke all the time about, oh, this game's all luck. This guy that I just lost against, like, he's trash. He just got lucky. When you watch, like, other streamers, you just type, like, so lucky, this guy's not even good. Stuff like that. But if you play well, you'll get better luck. And what I mean by that is stuff like this. So if you manage your econ better, you'll have more money. And if you have more money, you will have more money to roll, you'll see more shops, and you'll hit more often. Same thing with saving HP. If you stay alive longer, you'll have more time to see more shops. You get more dice rolls and stuff. Same thing with being uncontested. If you're uncontested, your dice rolls are even better. You're just more likely to see the number you want because you'll be less likely to see the other numbers. And here's kind of an example of that. It's also an example where I roll after other people, where they take a bunch of units out of the pool. This is from the previous Tacticians Cup tournament a few days ago. Like a week ago, honestly. More than a week ago. But it was on last patch. So here's my spot on stage 3. I have so many items because I believe it was There was an encounter that gave everyone a support item, and then there was the Diana encounter, which gave everyone 3 full items. So I'm not up items on anyone in this lobby. Everyone has all these items. But just for context, this game is I'm trying to play Heavenly Melee, and I'm one-way contested. And I have like a bunch of awkward slams like this Archangel and this QSS just because I felt like I had to save HP here. Because I didn't think my spot was very good, so I literally just slammed every single item. And we can skip the start of stage 4. So we see here, I get a Heavenly Spat, but I don't level. I don't level and roll. I'm 73 HP. I have enough HP to take a couple of, I can take a couple of bad losses and still be okay. But pretty much what happens is the person that is contesting me does the exact opposite. And more context for you in this lobby is that this was like the full 4-cost meta. Every other player, like every single person in this lobby is playing a 4-cost centric comp, and I'm only one-way contested on Heavenly. There is someone that has a random cane too, but it's just that there's no Lee Sins out of the pool pretty much, and not that many Siluses and only 3 canes. Here, I wonder if I scout that guy anytime soon. Okay, I think I do here. Yeah, that guy had 3 canes. Okay, so this is the guy that contested me. He might have felt pressured to level roll because he was low HP or something, lower HP, but he went 8 on 4-2, and I don't know how much gold he had, if he just really missed really hard or what, but he's 0 gold, he has 0 canes, 0 Lee Sins, 1 Sylas, 2 Wukong. Yeah, just really awkward. This guy actually like full streak stage 2. I thought his spot was way better than mine. I was actually really scared this game. But now looking at his spot, outside of the Wukongs, it looks really, really bad. Since everyone else is playing 4-cost in this lobby, I can just wait and my rolls will be much better. So I lose the next 2 fairly badly, 49 HP. The guy contesting me won both of his fights, so we're now at equal HP. But now I'm pretty much up 50 gold on him. And the rest of the lobby took all these 4-costs out of the pool, so we'll see how good this roll done is. Kayn, Morgana, Kayn, Lee Sin, Kayn. And yes, even in the spot where I'm uncontested and a bunch of 4-costs out of the pool, this is still lucky, but I probably would have hit if I rolled like 10 more gold as well. The lucky part of this is just hitting it like so early that I get to save money and go 9. But I'm pretty much guaranteed Lee Sin 2 here, and I'm probably getting 1 to 2 canes at least. 1 to 2 canes, 1 to 2 Morganas. And now the spot's just incredible. I have 3-item Lee Sin, 2-item Kayn, Morello backline, support item, armor shred. Like, the spot's amazing from a spot that looked bad. And the reason why that is, it's because I'm pretty much like multiplying my gold by waiting to roll there. Because if I rolled on like 4-2, my gold wouldn't go nearly as far because those units, all the other 4-costs would have been in the pool, right? So yeah, this is just an example of like loading the dice for yourself. But it just looks lucky on the outside, but it's like, it's very calculated. And like, yes, it's still lucky, but it's not as lucky as it looks. You can see like the Twitch chat reaction. They're all just upset. And then another, like the last section of this is like, hey, or I get this question a lot. It's like, hey, what do I do when I'm contested, I'm broke, I have no HP, and I have bad items? This is like easily the most common question I get because it's like super frustrating to be in the spot. But unfortunately, the answer is no, you can't do anything. You're going 8th. But the good news is that the situation is actually really rare. With optimal play, this should almost never happen. What I mean by that is being over contested probably means you pick the wrong comp. Unless like the meta is like really, really bad. But usually the meta is like fine. Broke means you probably didn't manage your econ correctly. You probably like held pairs that you didn't need. You held like 3 costs you didn't need. You maybe leveled when you shouldn't have. You maybe didn't lose streak when you shouldn't have. Yeah, managing econ is a really, really important part of the game, and it's not something you can just explain how to do perfectly every time. It takes like a ton of practice. Somewhat contradictory is like having no HP means you probably didn't play strongest board or didn't spec at the right time. And then you might ask like, hey, how am I supposed to play strongest board if you want me to like sell stuff for managing econ? And the answer is like, again, just requires practice. It doesn't mean you have to play strongest board every single turn, but you do have to understand when you're supposed to spike or when you can spike. Like I said, let's say you like lost in the early game. Say you like 5 lost. You made a bunch of econ intervals. You're pretty rich on Krugs, but you natural a bunch of 2-cost pairs. Say you have AP items you're playing around Kindred. What you may want to do on stage 3 is like roll for the Kindred 2 and maybe like a Thresh or something just to save HP because you have like the potential spike of hitting your pair. This is like kind of outside of the scope of this video, but yeah, hopefully some of that message went through. It just means like you need to spike at the right time. If you have like no pairs, you lost the whole game. It means in order to do well at all in the game, you have to like go for like an insane spike at like level 8 or something. Say you lose like every round until 4-2. It means your board on 4-2 has to like beat everyone in the lobby. Also, if you lost every round in the early mid game, you probably should have looked to play Fortune if you didn't play that. For example, like you maybe should have even rolled for Fortune on stage 3. stuff like that. Bad items also probably means you didn't make the correct item choices early. You saw that with my example. My items are bad at the end game. I have Last Whisper Aurelia, some awkward setup, and not Shiv for all my AP units because like that's not like I got unlucky with items. I just slammed the wrong item. We also saw that with the example with the Alloon player slamming the Last Whisper instead of the AP item setup around the Alloon. It's not that you low roll items, it just means you didn't make the right items or didn't make the right carousel choices and stuff. But the thing is, like don't feel bad if you make all these mistakes, because literally everyone makes these mistakes. TFT is a really hard game, and playing more helps you improve at all of this. But basically the point I'm trying to get at is that playing good TFT will inherently make you quote unquote luckier. But yeah, that's the main point. So that's gonna be it for me today. Interested if you guys want to see this format pushed further. I'm not sure exactly what I'd be talking about, but interested in hearing your guys' thoughts. Anyways, peace.